What's going on, everyone? It's Bowles, and welcome back to another video on the channel. So about a week late, but anyway, the grand final for the AFL happened last week. Richmond are premiers yet again, defeating Geelong 81-50. So Richmond by 31 points. So yes, sorry, it's a week late. Probably should have been done last week, but had a few things to do. I was busy. I went out and actually watched the grand final with my mate's family, so I went over there and watched that. So I couldn't actually do it that night, and then just had been busy all week. So we're getting to it right now. So without further ado, let's get into the what I thought of the game. But before I do, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for helping me reach 260 subscribers, now 261. So any help with that would be very much appreciated. If you're new, click the subscribe button, leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the content, and turn notifications on so you don't miss when I go live in the future for the any live stream or videos. So Richmond premiers again. They've now won 3 of the last 4 grand finals, and if it wasn't for Mason Cox in the prelim and Collingwood winning that game, I think that we may have seen Richmond even beat West Coast in the grand final. I'm not saying they would have. West Coast deserved the premiership that year, but it could have been Richmond 4 in a row. We'll obviously never know that, but they've been a dominant force over the better part of 5 or 6 years now. Yeah, just the benchmark. They've got the best player in the competition, Dusty Martin. He's clearly he showed in this game here why he's just so much better than everyone else, really. And that last goal where Dangerfield tried to tackle him and he just shrugged him off like he was no one and just snapped it round when you've got the ruckman, Reece Stanley, trying to smother the ball and you've kicked it over him and kicked it through for a goal. It's just great goal. He's an amazing player to watch. And he's now obviously the first player in AFL history to win 3 Norm Smith medals, and they've been all 3 of Richmond grand final wins. And I think he's one of the first. I think he might even be the first player as well to have multiple games in a grand final where he's had at least 20 touches and multiple goals. I think he's the first player to do that in 3 grand finals, or maybe he's one of only a few. But it's an incredible achievement by him anyway. And he didn't even win the best and fairest. Jaden Short ended up winning the best and fairest for them. So it just shows Dusty like he doesn't have to necessarily have an amazing year. He just stands up in the big games, and he knows, and the moments that he stands up to help his team get over the line. He was incredible in the final series. He got the Gary Ayres medal for the best player over the final series, so it's obviously well deserved as well. So just caps off another great final series for Dusty. But guys like Mitch Duncan as well had a very good final series for Geelong. Unfortunately, they didn't get the job done in the end. So guys, those 2 in particular are probably a class above everyone else in the final series. They were the 2 that stood out in every single game they played in the finals. And it showed again as well that you don't have to finish first or second to make a grand final, win a grand final, because obviously Geelong finished 3rd and Richmond finished 4th. So, no, hang on. Geelong finished 4th and Richmond finished 3rd, sorry. And the top 2 teams, Brisbane and Port, didn't even make it. So it just shows you just got to be in it to win it. If you're in the top 8, you've always got a chance. No, the bottom 4 didn't get into the grand final this year. And the 2 prelims were the top 4 teams. But in years past, we have seen teams come from outside the top 4 to either be in a grand final or even win a grand final, aka the Bulldogs from a few years ago. So, in terms of the game, it was Geelong started off, again, if you watched it, you would have seen Geelong started off really well in the first half. They dominated a lot of the play. They just didn't quite put their chances away. And then Richmond were able to claw back and they were able to get themselves in front. And then when Richmond were in front, they just completely took over the game in the second half. It was a completely different game. Every game that Richmond play in the finals, and even just any game Richmond played, they have all 22 players all play their part, all play their role, and there's never really any passengers in the game. They're all playing at a very high level. Geelong had too many passengers in the game. You had a lot of players not stand up. Really, you only had a couple of Geelong players the only 3 guys that could probably walk off with their heads held high for Geelong were probably Tom Stewart, one of the most consistent, if not the most consistent player in the AFL, Mitch Duncan, and Gary Ablett. And unfortunately for Gary Ablett, and it's not the fact that he played well. He obviously got shown he broke his shoulder. It got revealed that he broke his shoulder within the first 5 minutes of the game, and he just soldiered on, laid tackles. Every time he went to ground, you could see him grimace. It was hurting. Obviously, broken shoulder. Like, geez, I wouldn't be playing. I wouldn't be doing anything with a broken shoulder, and he was able to go there. But it was his final game. Champion player, arguably the best to ever do it, and arguably the best in the league. There's not many people that are on his level, over 350 games. incredible player. It's going to be weird not to be seeing Gary Ablett playing in the future. All my life, obviously, I've seen Gary Ablett play from when I was young, as well as when I can remember, really. Up until now, I've just seen Gary Ablett, and now he won't be there anymore. But congratulations on a great career for him anyway. He certainly played a part in. He tried his best in the grand final anyway. Unfortunately, Geelong couldn't get over the line for him, but I did like Richmond and Geelong do the Guard of Honour at the end, obviously honouring one of the greatest players we've ever seen. But so in terms of the game disposal-wise, surprisingly, Richmond actually won that. And I think that was probably a plan that Richmond would have been thinking going into the game. Geelong are a possession-based team. They like holding, they like keeping possession, having a lot more disposals than the opposition. They usually have around 30 to 50 more disposals than their opposition because they do like moving it from side to side from their back 50 and kicking out from the back. But Richmond were able to neutralise that, particularly in the second half. The first half, Geelong were able to do it a little bit, but in the second half particularly, Richmond were able to stop that, and then obviously they dominated and they were able to get a lot more of the ball. So obviously inside 50s, 49 to Richmond, 40 to Geelong, which is obviously what you'd think would happen, especially with Richmond running over them. I think it was quite even in the first half. I think Geelong might have edged them in the first half only by a couple, and then Richmond just, as I said, took over in the second half and they would dominate that. Disposal efficiency was 62% apiece. Efficiency inside 50 was 51% for Richmond. 25 shots from 49 inside 50s compared to Geelong's 40% with 16 shots from 40 inside 50s. 16 free kicks for Geelong and 11 for Richmond. So again, quite even, not too much bigger difference there. Hitouts were dominated by Geelong, and I thought Nankervis would have got on top in the ruck, but he didn't. 27 hitouts to 43. I think Blitzarves and Stanley were just able to run over Nankervis in the ruck, and I think that gave Geelong. No, hang on. Sorry, no. I thought that would have given Geelong an advantage because Blitzarves and Stanley getting there, but Richmond just too good. They're too good. You can have 100 things go against Richmond, but they'll still know how to get the job done. Clearances 41 to 35. So again, just showing that hitouts don't always mean you're going to win the clearances. It's all about the midfield. Can they step up on the day? Edwards, Prestia, Dusty, all those guys running through it. Bolton, Cochin, all the guys running through there were just able to have better games than guys like Guthrie and Dangerfield and Parfitt and guys like that. Duncan had a good game, but he was probably the best midfielder for them, probably the best player for Geelong on the day. But yeah, they just weren't able to get first use out of the centre, again, as I've probably said for a lot of things, particularly in the second half. First half, I thought Guthrie had a good first half. I thought Duncan again played well. I thought Parfitt was involved, but then it was just Richmond, as I said, it was a tale of two halves. It was complete and utter domination of Richmond's second half. The first half, Richmond didn't do that bad. They were still in the game. Geelong should have been 3 or 4 goals ahead because they had a lot more chances. They weren't able to capitalise them. They missed a lot of easy chances, and it cost them in the end. I think Richmond just were just better on the day, just in general anyway. Centre clearances 13 to 7 Richmond's way. So again, the hitouts are not meaning a heap, and then 28-28 for the stoppage clearances around the ground. Uncontested possessions won by Geelong, 145 to 128. That's expected with Geelong's chipping around the back. They usually have a lot more uncontested possessions, and contested possessions were crap. I just lost it. I had it in my head. 124 apiece. So yeah, in a grand final as well, you expect them to be pretty similar, and contest possession always does mean a lot. And with both teams level, had to be won in other areas, and particularly that that scoring efficiency for Richmond, 51% was a telling factor, and obviously ended up going winning it. So in terms of top 5 scorers for fantasy for the game, you had Mitch Duncan, 25 touches, 7 marks, and a kick the goal, and had 112 points. He was just insane over the final series. Just scored so many hundreds, particularly that Collingwood game. He just dominated. So, just if it wasn't for Dusty and Geelong won the grand final, you could argue that Duncan would have had the finals. He would have won the Gary Ayres medal because he was just insane over the finals. So good job for him. Jaden Short had a very good game, 25 touches, 6 tackles, and 102 points. So we had 2 people get over 100 in the grand final, which you don't. Well, obviously, with the full games, 20-minute quarters, you usually see players do score over 100. But with this, if you get over 80, the way it works out, if you get 80, you get 100. Technically, you get 100 in a normal full game. But Short was able to get 102, so that's a big score for him. Dusty Martin, 98, just insane. 21 disposals, 4 goals. Trying to think of speech. I don't know why. He's insane. That's the best way to describe him. He's just too good. He's just a lot better than everyone else. Like there's a level of elite, and there's like if you've got like A plus, there's like a Dusty level above that, and he's on that level. It's just he's so good, so good. Joel Searle was the 4th best, 88 points with 21 disposals and 5 tackles. So he played his role. He played all right, but again, just not enough guys through the midfield giving him, helping him out. Him and Duncan were probably the 2 guys that really gritted their teeth in the middle, but and too many other guys just didn't play their role. So a good game for the captain. So I knew that his experience would shine through especially on a grand final on a stage like that. And then Tom Stewart rounding out the top 5 with 20 touches, 6 marks, and 87 points. Just one of the most consistent players there is. He's definitely one of the top 5 most consistent players. Like, there's not many people that are more consistent than him on a week-to-week basis. He's one of my favourite players to watch. Just gets it done every week. And yeah, just such a good player. So in terms of my 3 votes for the grand final, I gave 1 vote. Well, the 1 vote was probably the most trickiest because I think the top 2 were pretty obvious for the majority of people anyway. Now thinking of it, it's tough. I think I've still got to go Shane Edwards. I think Shane Edwards was a big part of what Richmond did. Went through the midfield, played really well, 27 touches. He's, again, another experienced guy that just knows when to perform on a big stage like a grand final. 1 vote for him. I was very tempted to give it to Duncan in losing ever because I thought Duncan was Geelong's best player. Him and Stewart by far were the best 2 for Geelong, and then there was quite a bit of a gap for the next guy, and probably guys like maybe like a Joel Selwood and even the Stanley dominating in the ruck, trying to give first use for his midfield, but that didn't happen. But yeah, so Duncan's probably a little bit unlucky to get it, but I think I'd just give it just to Edwards. I think just in a winning team, as I said, 2 votes goes to Jaden Short. I thought he was brilliant down back. I thought midway through the year when Basher Hooley came back in the side, when Hooley was out for about 5 or 6 games, when his wife's having another kid, and he obviously stayed in Melbourne for that. I thought Jaden Short played really well, and I thought when Hooley came back, I thought, okay, Hooley's going to take over that role again. Jaden Short's probably going to revert to not doing a heap or whatever. But he took a big start this year, and he obviously won the best and fairest. So it's a great job by him. He had a very, very good year, and it's when Hooley came back, he was like, "No, I'm not going to revert back to my It's because he's always been a decent player, but he just took that extra step and just thought, I'm going to take on more responsibility when Hooley's out. And then when he comes back in, I'm not just going to give that responsibility back to Basher. I'm going to take also a little bit of the weight off of Basher's shoulders and also take a step up. And he did. And he played very, very well this year. Just a great year. And he performed well on, again, biggest stage of the year. So, and then 3 votes. Obviously, we give the Norm Smith medalist, Dusty Martin, 4 goals and 21 disposals in a grand final. There's not much more else I can say about Dusty I haven't already said. He's just an amazing player to watch. I love watching him. He just kicks goals when his team needs it. There was a goal he kicked in I want to say the second quarter, but it might have been the first. When Geelong had kicked clear, I think it was about 2 or 3 goal margin, and Dusty just kicked one across his body that he kicked. But there's one thing to kick it like a snap around your body, but then he kicked it completely across his body and snapped it back, and he kicked the goal. And I was like, that's insane. And obviously the goal, those 2 goals to end the game as well. I think, did he kick 2 or 3 goals in the last quarter? I'm not sure, but those last 2 goals, particularly, I remember in the last quarter, just insane. He's just such a good player. Yeah, not much more I can say. But North Smith medalist, well deserved, and going to look forward to watching him again next year. And we'll see if Richmond can go on again and win another premiership next year. Like a lot of people, probably midway through the year, probably think, Richmond. I I don't know, maybe Richmond might not win the premiership. I just knew Richmond were going to do something like this. Like in a year like this, Richmond just know how to get it done. They've shown over the last 4, 5, 6 years they just know how to perform and when to perform. They always have last few years they've always had injuries in the early to mid part of the season, but they always seem to get those players back in the last few rounds and in the finals. And then they've got like guys like Dion Prestia and Toby Nankervis were injured for a 4 to 6 week gap in the middle of the season, and they come back for the last few rounds. Dion Prestia came back in the finals, and then they just hit the ground running. And they just it's you need a little bit of luck as well, because it could have been injuries that forced them to miss a lot more time, but they just know what to do. Richmond just a very, very good team. So this you've got to. I think you have to also put them now in the likes of your Hawthorn team from the 80s, your Brisbane's from the early 2000s, your Geelongs from the 2010s, and same with Hawthorn. I think you've got to start putting them with those teams there, because they've 3 out of 4 premierships is amazing. And they made a prelim final. And as I said, if it wasn't for Mason Cox, they would have made 4 grand finals and maybe even beaten West Coast in that grand final, and then 4 premierships in a row. So, yeah, definitely up there, have to be. And it'd be a very interesting debate. I don't actually know who I'd pick out of the Geelong, Brisbane, or Richmond teams, just because they're the ones I remember the most. Because obviously, I've been alive since I wasn't around in the 80s, obviously. But Hawthorn were great as well. But I just think, Hawthorn. And then another debate, I could have like a 30-minute video going over that, but that's fine. Richmond are just, all I can say is Richmond up there. So there you go. But good performance by Richmond, and we'll see if they can do it again next year. I'm not sure if my Crows will be able to get there next year, but we'll see anyway. I don't think they will. If they make finals, it'd be great, but don't see it happening. But that'll be in the season preview, which will probably come out either later on this year or early next year. So the AFL videos will obviously be on a bit of a hiatus with obviously the off-season now. I may do some trade videos, so if you want to see me do them, leave in the comments below and say you want to see them. I might do some like recaps maybe every fortnight of just some trades that have gone through, what I think that means to the teams that they've gone to possibly, but we'll see. So there you go. But anyway, if you have enjoyed watching this or any of the AFL finals reviews, make sure you leave a like on the video and leave a comment in below and let me know what you saw of these final match, like the finals match reactions, and what you think of them going forward, and if you'd like to see them continue next year for like the next final series, because obviously it's a bit harder in the regular season because you've got 2 games going at once, and I can't really do like 6, 7 reviews each day. So, but yeah, let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Any support is greatly appreciated. Always appreciate the support shown here. Turn notifications on so you don't miss when I go live for live stream, match reaction, whatever. I will be doing the Manchester United game coming up this weekend against Arsenal, so make sure you tune in for that. I apologise for not doing the Manchester United Chelsea game. UFC was on. I paid for the UFC. It's like $50. I'm not going to do a review, unfortunately, when I paid for it. So there you go. But good win, good enough result for Manchester United for a draw. I wish that they had won the game, but oh well. So there you go. All right. Well, I'll see you next match live stream for the Manchester United game, and thank you for tuning in for all the AFL live streams. I'm out. Cheers.